This is Jefferson Public Radio. I'm Eric Teal. Welcome to another live session, and today is a special one. Joining me in the studios with a remarkable setup, we should say from the outset, is Agnes Obel. Welcome to JPR. It is nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Today is a day off on your tour, and you have taken a good chunk of the day to set up all of the gear that is required for an Agnes Obel performance. So I appreciate that. You are originally from Copenhagen, but for more than a decade now have been based in Berlin. What was it about Berlin that drew you out of Denmark?
Well, I went there with my university. We were there for a festival about technology called Transmediale. And I sort of fell in love with the city. I had this feeling that it was a place where you could do anything. It has sort of an openness, DIY feel to it that really appealed to me, and I could feel like it was just my intuition just told me it was a good place for me.
Well, Copenhagen's not exactly a small town. I mean, it's roughly the size of Seattle, but Berlin is enormous.
Well, there's not so many people in Berlin, but the space is really big, so flats are cheaper. It's easier to find rehearsal space and studios, and just in general, if you have a new project, it's much easier than Copenhagen is really tiny. I lived in a flat a little bit bigger than this room, and my rehearsal space was like far, far away, and it was super expensive, and I couldn't have a studio, and all these things suddenly became very easy when I moved to Berlin.
Now, was music your thing when you moved, or you already knew that this was what you wanted to be doing?
Yeah. I've done this since I was a kid, yeah.
Berlin's music scene, now granted, this is from a long way away, but Berlin's music scene to me seems like it's heavy on electronica, very hard, edgy rock, and there's a bit of a jazz scene there as well. Did you find yourself fitting into all of those things?
Well, it wasn't so much because of the music scene I moved there, because I didn't really know anybody from the music scene.
And you're pretty self-sufficient with the music you create. So
Yeah, I have my own studio, and I could sort of live anywhere. I could live here and work, I could go anywhere and work. I'm not so dependent on other musicians or producers or whatever.
You could move to Ashland.
Yeah, I could. I was really thinking about it today. I really, really love this place. So beautiful. Yeah. So and I might do something like that at some point, because I don't need so many. But what I think is nice when you're working like I do is to have a place or be in a place where there's an atmosphere of that you don't get stressed. It's, even though it's a big city, Berlin, it's very relaxed. And, for example, I love New York, but I could not work there. I get really stressed out by the vibe. And the same in London. In some cities you have this feeling like you're missing out on something, or if you don't have like a 9-to-5 job or something, then you're sort of out of the loop or something. But Berlin is really, I don't know, it's just a different time there.
Agnes Obel is my guest today live on Jefferson Public Radio. The new record is called Citizen of Glass. We'll talk about the album, the title, the significance of the title in just a minute. Information on her is at agnesobel.com. It is spelled AGNESOBEL.com. You have a quartet, and despite all of the gear, not everybody is on a vocal mic per se. So who have you brought in with you, and what are we going to hear them on musically?
I brought with me two cellists who are both using effects on their cellos, and they are also looping their cellos live. So all these layers we will hear, they are all recorded live on a loop station. And then Charlotte, one of the cellists, also plays mellotron. And on percussion we have a girl called Isolde Løssøn, who also plays flugelhorn. So this is my setup.
And what are you guys going to play first?
First, we're going to play Familia.
This is Agnes Obel, live today on Jefferson Public Radio.
your blood and cold aside of the million to love. Welcome to what if I keep your eyes on the road and let half a million with you and I. Close with gates of gold to light. To the summit at night, to bring around in the old grip of the familiar. Dark was opening wide to hold dark. The mask of a million. Who we are.
That is Familiar, played live in the JPR studios from the new record called Citizen of Glass. Agnes Obel is my guest live today on JPR. The record is beautiful, and it is an evolution of your sound from the previous couple of albums, 2013's Aventine, is that pronounced correctly? And 2010 Philharmonics, which were more heavily piano and your vocals. This is becoming more orchestrated. Did you want to go there, or was that a natural progression that just happened as these songs were coming to your brain?
Well, I think Aventine had a lot of strings too. A lot of songs were written for strings. And this album, Citizen Glass, has most of the songs have been written on other kinds of keyboards that I normally don't work with, like Setlist and harpsichord and spinet. And and that has to do with the theme of the album. Because I had this glass theme, I knew I had to move away from the piano and maybe also not just rely on strings as alternative to piano.
The title, Citizen of Glass, comes to you from a German phrase, and it translates kind of loosely, like living in a glass fishbowl, kind of. The idea of not having privacy anymore?
Yeah, well, basically, in Germany, when you talk about that the individual has lost all his or her privacy, then they say they're made of glass. So they're glass human or glass patient or glass citizen.
And is that the result of people giving it away or it being taken from them?
I think both.
Yeah.
It's just when you lose it, like there's a sort of hyper awareness of this problem in Germany because of their history. And in the GDR, there was intense surveillance of the citizens, and every third citizen was like a spy. They found out later after the wall came down. So there's a lot of organization and people really aware of not being, that their information and their secrets, their privacy is protected. And that can be in all sorts of ways, like in relation to hospitals or insurances or big companies registering whatever you do online, or the government or whatever.
When you're writing your songs, especially the songs from this record, do they arrive fully composed, or do you tinker with them and add to them over time and add additional parts and layers to them?
I record myself and produce it myself, and so the writing, as soon as I get an idea, I will very quickly record it, and then I very quickly will start producing it. So it's all sort of melding together a little bit, and especially on this album, it was really like sort of a canvas where I would add more and more and more, and less like sort of songwriting, production, So yeah, I think especially with the last album, it's been sort of a process of building and trying out things and writing from that.
Your sound is so unlike everyone else that's out there right now. Are there specific kinds of music that you are drawn to that influence you? I mean, when I listen to your earlier records that had more you with piano, there's almost like a French Impressionist style of playing. Is that something that you've spent time listening to?
Yeah, I was so lucky when I was into piano lessons as a kid. I was taught by a pianist and a cellist who were very much into the French Impressionist composers. So I was playing Debussy and Ravel and also some Satie.
Sure.
Since I was a kid, and I think it affected my way of playing and the way I like piano to sound. So I think that's why it's in there.
It's also not so rigidly structured, right?
No,
I mean,
no.
It's an open-ended style and sound.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love about this kind of music. It's like it's not like sort of German classical music where it's all about the ending and the beginning. It's sort of very, yeah. It's more like it's more like a leaf, in the air, moving back and forth. As to me, it's more like nature in a way.
Yeah.
This sort of music.
Agnes Obel is my guest today, live on JPR. The new record is called Citizen of Glass, and we've got the quartet set up in our studio. What do you guys want to do next?
We're going to play a song for you called Stretch Your Eyes.
That is Agnes Obel and her quartet live today in the JPR studios, playing music from the new record called Citizen of Glass. In your music, whether this is intentional or not, I don't know, but there is a fragility to it. It is very delicate, like strands of glass almost. Is that the music that you strive to create, to have this very delicate, almost like snowflakes, crystalline structure to the songs?
Well, when I made Citizen of Glass, I wanted to create the sensation of being made of glass, the experience of being transparent and fragile and potentially breakable, like
Sure.
having this sensation of something just before glass is falling apart, or this tension, have these build-ups. So I think that was my intention with the instrumentation and the instruments I chose. But I think, I don't know, I really love details in music. I love simplicity and things that productions and arrangements that are sort of transparent and clear. So maybe I already have sort of that weakness in my taste.
Well, the glass analogy is another way of getting at vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love the idea of glass being this very strong material that, but that on the other side is very fragile, and that we are all made of glass. Is also like we are these fragile beings.
Yeah. When you first moved to Berlin, you spoke very little German. I'm guessing that you speak a lot more now. How many languages do you speak at this point?
I only speak 3 languages. I speak Danish and German and English. Yeah.
And when lyrics come to you, what language do they arrive in?
In English.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems unusual.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think for people who grew up with music being sung mainly in English, then it's sort of natural for them that to express themselves in that language. I was taught English through music. The school I went to believed very much in learning language from music. So, and I have, for example, German. I learned that the old-fashioned way, so I don't really connect the German language with music.
The old-fashioned way, asking people, where's the bus?
Yeah,
things like that.
Exactly, and going to school and stuff like that. So, and where a lot of the words I know in English, I know them from lyrics, and so I really connect the English language and music with each other. It's the same for me with Swedish. I know Swedish from music, so I think if I shouldn't sing in English, I would sing in Swedish. Yeah.
This record has done extremely well in Europe. Number 1 on a couple of charts, couple of countries, top 10 on about a half a dozen other countries. Is that success surprising to you?
Yeah. I am. Especially with this album, I had no idea it would go so well, because I knew I had, I knew this could be an album that a lot of people wouldn't like, because it's a little bit more idiosyncratic than previous.
We were talking a little bit about that on the drive over, that you don't exactly make pop music. Your music is out on the fringes a little bit, and yet people are finding it and discovering it and sharing it with other people. What is that shift like for you to move from the European base to the States? A different kind of audience, a different kind of musical consumption. What's the response been like for you here? You did South by Southwest not long ago.
Yeah. I think it's been a really great tour, I have to say. Of course, it's smaller venues and everything, and things are in that sense much harder here. But on the other hand, the audience you get are so much. They're so, so appreciative, and it's just been so amazing to play here. And people have been so nice and listening and quiet, and I feel like the audience we have here are really sort of music lovers. And even at South by, which is really the most crazy music business place you can go, and there's over 1,000 bands
Yeah.
playing there, and you feel really tiny and it's slightly ridiculous when you're playing there. But still, the audience, the people were so great. Both shows we had, and so quiet, and it's actually really nice to play over here. It's really, you feel really connected in a strange way, even though you don't know each other really.
Well, the quiet's got to be great because your music demands it. It demands you pay attention and listen to all the intricacies and subtleties of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier trying to incorporate some unusual keyboard instruments and things into your performances, into your recording. One of them, which I'm guessing does not go out on the road, is the trautonium. I'm fascinated by this because I like old instruments and rare instruments. You stumbled across an instrument of which there were only 200 made, and perhaps fewer still in existence. It's a keyboard instrument, sort of, kind of, but electronic, right? But very old. What is this thing, and how did you find one?
So it's a keyboard instrument from Germany, and it was developed in the late 1920s. And it is sort of an early form of a modular synthesizer. So It's like a sinus note going into an oscillator, I think you call it, and you can change that note a lot. You can harmonize it to several notes, and then you play it on a metal wire. And on an original...
Not a key?
No.
Oh, wow.
It's really insane. So you can play it like a slide guitar, or you can play it like key. There's this metal... leather straps you can put over the wire, and then you have to sit with a tuner so they, fit with the scale you want to play. It's not very, spontaneous instrument.
Where would someone hear that on this record? Where does it show up most prominently?
Most prominently on, I would say, Trojan Horses, It's Happening Again.
Okay.
And Stretch Your Eyes, and Citizen of Glass as well. It's basically every song with a lot of strings, because I mixed the trautonium in with the strings. Every time there's a glissando, it's not just strings, it's also mellotron, and trautonium and mellotron. And on It's Happening Again, it's sort of all the sort of sounds that answers my voice. They are all trautonium. Yeah.
Well, it has been lovely to have you in. Today has been really fun. Thank you for dropping by.
Thank you for having us.
Agnes Obel is my guest today, live on JPR. The new record is called Citizen of Glass. Information is at agnesobel.com, and you've got one more for us, yeah?
Yeah, this song is called It's Happening Again.
Where it is true, the past isn't dead. It's a lot, it is happening in the back of my head. The future, no past, the laws of time can undo what is happening. Close my eyes with the stars and the moon. I woke up in the night in the same place. Oh, the same below my eyes. It's happening, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening again. It's happening. took a day or two to exile from a life, to unfold that prisoner they call a mind. For a brief moment we could stop the time, but with the stars and the moon, I woke up in the night in a safe place. Oh, the same. Before my eyes, it's happening, 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 it's happening.
That is Agnes Obel and her quartet live today in the JPR studios. Music from the new record called Citizen of Glass. Information is at agnesobel.com, AGNESOBEL.com. Agnes Obel, thanks again for coming by.
Thank you for having us.